So that's the situation we're in right now. A right to privacy being stripped away with Roe v. Wade does not necessarily only affect abortion, because a right to privacy includes so many more things besides just a right to a woman's bodily autonomy. So we all know about the leak now, right? The SCOTUS leak. That's something that everybody's at least somewhat informed on. For people who don't know or haven't seen, there was a leaked document recently that is supposed to be Justice Alito's drafted opinion about the need to get rid of Roe v. Wade. Now, it's a 98-page document. There's a lot to go through in it, but in the document, he uses loaded language and a bunch of shit. Now, here's the thing, though. Typically, documents like that are not supposed to leak. They're not supposed to actually be things that we have access to, generally speaking. So it's interesting that that even became a thing that we saw. Because normally we are not supposed to be able to see shit like that at all. We're not supposed to see things until the final stages. But it did get leaked, and we live in that reality, so now we are here. So, let's go ahead and get into the fan art section, and then we will get into a little more information on the leak, and then what some of this stuff might actually mean. So, the first bit of fan art we have available here is a red shirt Suris. This one is from Stargazer Lay, said I drew this during the Star Trek Fleet Command campaign and realized I never shared it. Anyway, here is Commodore Suris. And honestly, I still have to say, I really ended up enjoying Star Trek a lot more than I thought I would when we started that campaign. So super happy about that. The next one we have is from Kitterdoodle, and they said, I may have put too much effort into this one. This is from the subathon, when as soon as the subathon technically had hit its goal, we continued going, and all the proceeds to the subathon that were over and above our original stated goal went to charity. Red Joker, thank you very much for redeeming. Oh, god damn it. Red Joker has redeemed a fucking tactical Nuuk. So all redeems during the course of this episode are now forced to be uwoos. Because of course they are, as we are talking about SCOTUS shit. Red Joker, thank you for redeeming technically, and well. God, my voice broke for that one. What the fuck? Anyways, there's another one. There's an owo that gets changed as well to an owo. All right, there. Are you happy? I will strip every amount of enjoyment out of this for you. You will gain nothing from me. The last one we have is from Loki the Tired Trickster. Said, I might color this later, I might not, but I have a slime Suris as the top scoop of an ice cream cone. Why? I don't know either. As always, thank you all for your fan art submissions. I greatly appreciate it. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. And with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at a little more information about that SCOTUS draft. Now, it should be noted that, again, drafts like this are not supposed to make it to the public. They're not. There isn't a precedent for this. We're not supposed to see this stuff until later. I don't know why we have access to this at the moment. I'm glad we do, because it's starting a lot of important conversations, but the Biden administration has actually released a statement about the SCOTUS draft. It reads, we do not know whether the draft is genuine or whether it reflects the final decision of the court. With that critical caveat, I want to be clear on 3 points about these cases before the Supreme Court. First of all, if you don't know if the draft is genuine, I would imagine if we had a functioning political system, we would have the ability for you to communicate with the SCOTUS, with Alito, and figure out if it was or not. That opinion could be figured out very quickly and very easily. But Anywho, first, my administration argued strongly before the court in defense of Roe v. Wade. We said that Roe is based on a long line of precedent recognizing the 14th Amendment's concept of personal liberty against government interference with intensely personal decisions. I believe that a woman's right to choose is fundamental. Roe has been the law of the land for almost 50 years, and basic fairness and the ability of our law, or stability of our law, demand that it not be overturned. Okay, so let's go ahead and isolate this paragraph for a moment. Arguing in favor of Roe being maintained as a super precedent is a good thing. You know what else is a good thing? When we have a democratically controlled everything in Congress, perhaps using that democratic majority to, I don't know, enshrine a woman's rights to choose in law. Maybe that would be a good thing to do, but that's not a thing that's happening. That's not a thing that's happening at the moment, at least not that I've seen. Roe v. Wade being a precedent is a good thing, but the fact that we can even have this as something that is being argued over and deliberated over, it's happening because the entire point of the SCOTUS is to interpret laws. And if they interpret the 14th Amendment to extend to any right to privacy, then at that point, we can go, okay, well, I guess abortion's enshrined, but it's really not. Because all it takes is them reinterpreting that later, as seems to be the decision going forward as of right now in the draft, for those rights to just be taken out. That's all it ends up being. This is not a good thing. And merely going, aha, we put up a good fight when arguing with the SCOTUS, that's just not enough. We have a democratically controlled literally everything in Congress right now. We should probably be using that to enshrine this in law so that even if Roe gets overturned, which we'll get into in a second, at the very least, a woman's right to choose will not be stripped away. But there will be other things that fall out as a result of that, and we'll get to those. Secondly, shortly after the enactment of Texas Law SB 8 and other laws restricting reproductive rights for women, I directed my Gender Policy Council and White House Counsel's office to prepare options for an administration response to the continued attack on abortion and reproductive rights under a variety of possible outcomes in the cases pending before the court. We will be ready when any ruling is issued. This seems to suggest that what I was just suggesting might actually be in the cards, but we don't know. The actual strategy is not outlined. There's good and bad to that. The good to that is, without outlining the strategy completely there, it does prevent Republicans from generating a counter strategy. The bad there is this doesn't exactly give me a whole lot of confidence because I don't know what the strategy is. I can't have any confidence in an administration that I don't care for over an issue that I don't expect them to vote for. Not to mention, the filibuster is still a thing. The filibuster is still a thing. Realistically, even forcing that vote to happen, you'll still end up against the stone wall of the filibuster. And that is kind of an issue. The last part here says, third, if the court does overturn Roe, it will fall on our nation's elected officials at all levels of government to protect a woman's right to choose. And it will fall on voters to elect pro-choice officials this November. At the federal level, we will need more pro-choice senators and a pro-choice majority in the House to adopt legislation that codifies Roe, which I will work to pass and sign into law. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the problems here. When they say at the federal level, we will need more senators, we'll need you voting for more. This reads, to me, as a carrot being dangled in front. If you guys don't want to lose the right to your bodily autonomy, vote for more of us, even though we've had literally 2 years to do anything. We've had time. We have had plenty of time to work up a draft. We've had plenty of time to enshrine this thing into law, and we haven't. Oh, but don't you worry. If you vote for us, we will do our very best to do that thing we didn't do while we were in office beforehand. dangling women's rights as a wedge issue to be fought over in the political landscape is more than a little disgusting. It doesn't necessarily have to read that way. Maybe I'm just very, very jaded, and that is how it reads to me. Not to mention, when you say it'll fall on voters to bring in more pro-choice officials. First of all, none of this should have to fall on us anymore. We shouldn't have to go, aha, we need to elect the officials that will keep our rights in place and not elect the officials that will strip our rights away. I'm a firm believer that rights in America should just kind of be guaranteed. They're a thing you have for being an American citizen. And the idea that if a majority of people are sufficiently stupid, those rights can then be stripped away is a bit ludicrous to me. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that can't happen. I just think it's very stupid. There's more. Oh my God, really? So first of all, Bacon Mutt was unavailable. Thank you for redeeming your points for what is now forced to be in. Ooh woo. But also, Azriel Raven has dropped another nuke? What happens when two of them are dropped? Is this mutually assured destruction? Is that what happens here? Is the Supreme Court decision breaking my stream as well as literally everything else? Well, fine. Naki Bree dropped 50,001 channel points, and I am numb to this now. I hope you are too. Ooh woo. And also, please, I sincerely hope painful inconveniences on you in your future. If you have a Klondike bar, I would like it to be melted just enough to where you get no crunch in the chocolate, and the ice cream is runny, but it's solid enough in the package to make you believe it's going to be good. Red Joker, thank you for redeeming your points as well for a fuck you. Ooh woo. I want to talk about important shit, and you guys are sitting here trying to make me make dumb anime noises. That's what's going on. Alpha Mario X, you decided that you wanted to make me prepare for war, so okay, sure, why not? You dropped 50,001 channel points, you spent months accumulating those, and now we're here. Ooh woo. Can I talk about things now? So there is a thread on Twitter by A.H. Rayami? I'm not pronouncing it wrong. They just go by A.H. At A.H. Rayami, R-E-A-U-M-E, where there's an entire thread that you will find. I'm going to be using their thread as a guideline for this conversation because when people do threads that actually showcase a lot of really important information, I think taking those threads and then extrapolating on that and also signal boosting them, probably a good idea. So if you have not already, hit likes on this particular thread here. This is where we are going to be. This is what we're using as our guidepost for this conversation. Roe v. Wade, ostensibly, is the right to privacy. It's based on the right to privacy in the United States. It was voted on as a 7-2 majority, even though we had a lot of Republicans in the SCOTUS at that time, or Republican-appointed judges. It still ended up being a 7-2 judgment call. If the majority of the opinion now is that SCOTUS does not want the Constitution to protect the right to privacy, that affects a butt ton of things, not just abortion. There's more that goes into it than that. Hold on to your pants. We have a bit of a bumpy ride. First one on the list is Lawrence versus Texas. This was decided in 2003. The court used the right to privacy to determine that it is unconstitutional to punish people for committing sodomy. Now, what does that mean? Basically, if you, even in a straight couple, even in a heterosexual couple, wanted to engage in any type of sex that would be considered not normal, not basic penetrative vaginal sex, that can be considered a form of sodomy. Even fellatio can be considered a form of sodomy. Now, the larger issue here is that this affects anybody who is in a homosexual relationship. That basically criminalizes the ways in which they can have intercourse. But it should be noted that as there are heterosexual couples who engage in those activities as well, this extends further past too. So if you want to pull a whole, well, it doesn't affect me. Yes, the fuck it does. You and that jar of Vaseline are going to have just as many problems. But that's not all. In 1965, Griswold versus Connecticut, this is a case that protects the ability of married couples to buy contraceptives without government restriction. That is a thing that can also be affected when your right to privacy is yoinked away. So Texas still has anti-sodomy laws in the books? Yes. And it is because those are still in the books, but they are negated by a right to privacy, that this affects people in Texas. Because the minute that right to privacy gets stripped away, if Roe gets overturned, then the 2003 conversation comes back up, because if it was based on that amendment, on Amendment 14 and a extension of that into a right to privacy, that becomes a conversation again as well. And it shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to sit in front of a court and give a testimony basically going, hello, sir, yes, I would like to make love to my partner, and I would like that not to be illegal when my partner is a consenting adult and neither of us are harming each other. This should be common fucking sense, but apparently it's not. Now, in Stanley versus Georgia, there's a 1969 case. It found that there was a right to privacy around possession of pornography. If a state wants to outlaw pornography or certain forms of adult pornography, it can do that if there is no right to personal privacy. And I get there's going to be some tradcon that goes, based, red-pilled, porn bad. No, we need to actually have a conversation real quick about the utilization of porn. If you are a heterosexual person and you are in a... Did you have to say heterosexual? Just somebody who is not ace, and you are in a relationship with somebody who is ace and sex repulsed, porn may be your only healthy outlet. If you're not polyamorous, so you don't have access to other partners, porn is probably your only healthy outlet. Making that illegal is not good. Not to mention that would outlaw possession of pornography that you actually have, that you have personally made. If one of your kinks with your partner is to film yourselves and then watch yourselves afterwards, it's not mine, but if it's yours, that is a thing that gets stripped away then as well. 2015, Obergel versus Hodges. This is the 2015 opinion that legalizes same-sex marriage. It is based on the right to privacy and equal protection clause. In order to do so, gay marriage can get stripped away. This can open the door for a state to attempt to try to push against same-sex marriage again. Hell, we literally had Tennessee try to create an entire subset of marriage that only straight people can have access to, that awkwardly didn't ban kids from being married until there was significant public pressure to change the laws the way the law was written in its drafted form. And you think that that will get better with a right to privacy being stripped away? That is an awkward fantasy. I do not believe that I want to share in it. There is more to go through here. Two others on the list here are Mayer versus Nebraska. It's a 1923 ruling, so a bit older, but it is a ruling that allows families to decide for themselves if they want their children to learn a language other than English. There's a potential here that a door could actually be opened for racist states to try to outlaw learning a family's cultural language. Now, the likelihood of that happening, I think, is very low, but I've also lived in enough southern conservative states to know that it's definitely something that's been on somebody's mind who occupies a political seat, and that's all it has to be. Skinner versus Oklahoma is a 1942 ruling that says that it's unconstitutional to forcibly sterilize people. It is amazing that it took us till 1942 to come to that conclusion. But the Roe ruling could technically open up the door for criminals, disabled people, or anybody who is from a marginalized group to be allowed to be sterilized. The United States had engaged in forced sterilizations in the past. There's no reason to believe that they magically wouldn't do so now if the doors were open for that. Now, this is noted in, these two are noted in the thread by AH. I personally do not see how these ones could potentially be affected by Roe v. Wade being knocked out, technically, but they are there, and I did want to not just skip over anything that was in there. It should be noted that Judge Alito is a constitutional originalist, which means he believes the Constitution should be interpreted as it was when it was created. Amy Coney Barrett is also the exact same way. And I think Gorsuch is too. They are originalists. The Constitution as it was written it was perfect exactly as it was. Amendments be damned, I guess. So that's the situation we're in right now. A right to privacy being stripped away with Roe v. Wade does not necessarily only affect abortion. There's a shit ton of other issues that it affects as well, because a right to privacy includes so many more things besides just a right to a woman's bodily autonomy. And there's a lot of stuff to get into there. Hopefully, between the thread, my extrapolations, and everything else, we've got a little bit there. I'm a bit torn with the letter that was sent out by the Biden administration. I want to have that bit of hope that we will actually try to enshrine that right to privacy in law, because it can't just be a right to abortion. It can't. Because if we just try and enshrine a right to abortion in law, then we run into the issue of all of these other things still end up falling. Like, all those dominoes continue to fall irrespective of the conversation on abortion, right? So we need to actually have, for every single one of those laws and any others that are being missed, much more strongly. But this is kind of there's two problems that come with this. And I hate that I have to be like, aha, here's this thing we can do, but here's this problem that is presented as well. If we do try to enshrine abortion, we would have to either end the filibuster or fight through the filibuster in order to do so. And I don't see that happening. I don't see Democrats ending the filibuster. We don't have the amount of votes required to end the filibuster as a usable strategy in legal proceedings. And I don't see Republicans not resorting to the filibuster to stop the vote from being able to happen up until the point where they can get a majority in the Senate again. Azrael Raven, thank you for redeeming your points for I fucking hate you. Ooh, ooh. The other side of this. This is something that was brought up in the conversation with Ocean Keltoy yesterday. If you're not subscribed to Ocean, please consider doing so. He's a wonderful friend of mine, though the content he makes is certainly a bit different than mine. The other side to this is pig fatting, is a very common practice in United States law. Here's a little bit about how that situation works. Congress writes up a 12-page draft on enshrining abortion. Let's just say abortion. And then they go door to door asking which Democrats are willing to sign the bill on abortion. And there's a Democrat in Wyoming that goes, well, you know what? I really would like to, but we need a few more $1,000s for our schools. If you can manage to swing that, then we'll make that happen. So the drafter goes, okay, and adds a page, adding a financial clause that will add a little bit more public funding for these schools in Wyoming. And then they go and knock on the next door, and the guy says, yeah, no, that's fine. I'm the senator from California. We'll vote and swing your way. Cool. Excellent. But then they get to Georgia, and anybody from Georgia is going to go, well, I'm going to have to give a bone to the Republicans, because if I don't, then I'm not going to get elected next term. I need to be able to say I was responsible for doing something that the rural sections of Georgia will appreciate. So I need to get something in for them. And so that gets drafted in. And then so on and so forth. This game of jumping states and telephone ends up creating a several hundred-page document with a whole bunch of things in it that have absolutely fuck all to do with abortion, but they are all there so that you can get your votes in on the bill. It's not as simple as all the Democrats will vote for the bill. There's a lot of behind the doors things that happen as well. So now you end up creating a bill that some people are going to not vote for, because they'll look at the bill and go, you know, I want to enshrine abortion in the law. That's a thing that we need to do. But why is there a clause here giving $300,000 to the New York police force? What the fuck is that doing in there? I don't stand for that. That's against my morals. I want women to have the right to choose, but why are we sending all of that money to a bunch of police who I believe are corrupt? And then they're going to vote against the bill because of the pork fat that's in there. There's also another problem where when you create a bill that is sufficiently pork fatted to get the votes that you need, now you get to present a giant bill to Congress that has a bunch of shit in it that nobody's going to read. And then this butterfly effect continues, where now there might be a Democrat who ends up having to lose their seat, potentially even to a Republican later, because they didn't want to vote on a bill that had things they were morally opposed to in it because of pork fatting. But then they get the stigma of being the Democrat who voted against the abortion bill. And as soon as they do that, now everybody who is not willing to look at the actual text of the bill, which is 99% of the population, now will vote against that Democrat because of that. And then we might get a Republican in office there. And then, of course, the conversation becomes, what do we do when the Republicans have a majority again? That's a whole bunch of shit to consider. There's a bunch of dominoes that end up being created in order to fall if Roe v. Wade goes down. If Roe v. Wade goes down and we try to do the enshrinement route, we have to get through the filibuster. And there's also the problem of all of that legal mumbo jumbo that has to be dealt with when it comes to actually building out a way of enshrining that law that the Senate and the House can vote on and actually accept. On it goes, says they're also trying to outlaw the 13th Amendment. And says, sorry for the yawn. Senators have been saying they want to end interracial marriage. They want to roll back Loving versus Virginia, literally states' rights. And consider, on it goes. It goes even worse than that. The language that Alito uses in the document, in the 98-page document, also alludes to states' rights repeatedly. And I don't know, whenever I hear the states' rights dog whistle, it feels just as dumb as when people were trying to say that, slavery should be a matter of states' rights. Well, okay, cool. Why do you think geographical location changes the morality of slavery? I don't think it does. The only reason anybody says states' rights for slavery is because they want there to be a few states where slavery will still be legal, because it's their fetish or something. I don't know. I don't actually understand the logic behind wanting slavery to be a thing that's maintained. But point is, there's a lot of swampy shit to go through right now, and these next few months are going to be very taxing on anybody who is dialed into politics in any way, shape, or form. It's awful, but I want to end this on more of a positive note if we can. There are strategies that can be taken going forward. The Biden administration does seem to at least have a few of those sitting in its back pocket. Even if we don't know the specifics, they are there. We can see what happens there. Currently, we do have a majority in Congress, so maybe we can use that majority to get this thing going. But over and above that, I want to go ahead and leave off with a message. If you are tuning into politics, this side of the internet can be very exhausting. It can be incredibly exhausting. It can be mentally destructive almost. If you're here and you are dealing with this, please take some time to find your favorite food. Please take some time, please, to go read your favorite book or play your favorite video game, watch your favorite movie. I don't care what it is you do, but after watching this video especially, I want you to take a minute to disconnect. I want you to go either outside or to your favorite place, wherever that happens to be, and just exist without your phone, without any connection to the internet at all. De-stress, disconnect, and start making a habit of doing that. Things are about to get a whole lot more stressful in the world of politics, so it would be a very good idea to go ahead and start those habits of self-care. Make sure you're hydrated, make sure you're well-fed, and make sure that you're entertained in a way that does not involve you dialing into more political nonsense. Things are already shit, and it would be a good idea for us to not forget that there are things in the world that make it worth living here. So go engage with those things. Politics isn't everything, and it doesn't have to be. Your well-being comes first and foremost. Monica Cineroll says, one time I went outside and just stood in the sun. It felt so weird. Admittedly, I haven't felt. You haven't felt it in forever? Jesus Christ. So, please do that as a personal favor to me if you can. With that said, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Hey, if you're going to actually take the time to go take care of yourself, maybe go ahead and let me know in the comment section what you're going to do to take care of yourself. Or, even better yet, Don't tell me at all until you've already done it. Leave the video, go do whatever it is you're going to do for a few hours to take care of yourself, and then come back and tell me what you did and how you did it. Whatever it ends up being, hopefully it helps you take care of you. Politics sucks, and there's no two ways about it. As always, everybody, if you enjoyed this content, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and really, if you want to support my content, there's plenty of ways to do so in the description. Patreon, everything else. As always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here.